Hello, people. How are you guys? Scared? Why scared? तू क्या हुआ? Cold. Oh, the news. I know it's difficult to think about the future or think about um, net and all of that when we are in a tense situation. It's very easy to feel helpless, to feel like it's unfair and it's unjust, to feel scared, to feel good amount of things. There is no easy answer that I can give to make it all go away, but the um, French existentialist Camus has something very interesting. You might have heard of the Sisyphus thing, right? Where Sisyphus is condemned to push a mountain for the rest of eternity to the top of the mountain, and the boulder just falls back. And sometimes it feels just like that because no matter what you're trying to do, there's just some senseless war going on, something horrible happening around the world, and you also start to wonder that how can anyone truly be happy or well adjusted in a world that's so chaotic? You wonder whether being well adjusted is even the normal thing. But what we can do is just keep going. It's the conflict between trying to make sense of it and not getting an answer. Camus calls it the absurd, that we're trying to find meaning in a universe that just doesn't have one. There is no answer to the absurd. The absurd is the answer. That's just how it is. And to him, it's more about, okay, this is just how it is, and we will continue to live anyway. We will continue to exist anyway. We will continue to rebel and fight for what we believe in. Will we end early? I like where the priorities are. Yes, I got a haircut. Just yesterday only. Some people noticed yesterday. What are we learning today? Hmm. We're continuing existential, so I think it's very mood congruent. Let me put my device to charge. Yeah. We're just finishing up on where we started with existential, and while doing so, we're going to learn uh, about May's ideas, May's concepts. Rollo May. We're gonna also contrast it with Adler. I mean, there's a reason why I'm putting Adler here because to me Adler is very existential. And then we're gonna compare both of them to Viktor Frankl, and we're gonna see that Viktor Frankl is just someone stealing ideas from other people. And then second lecture also I'm only taking today because the other professor who was supposed to take it is not feeling well. So I'm taking that, and I have something very interesting planned for that too. I'm covering a personality theory which everyone knows, but everyone struggles with and everyone dislikes. So instead of covering it the same horrible way that every single thing bachelor's master's class teaches you, we're going to understand that one particular theory from the author himself, the authors in the author's own words as to how they have phrased it. And when you realize, when you see it from the author's phrasing, it makes more sense. So we're going to do that. I'll reveal what it is at that point. So there's not one line from any of those that's not directly from the author. You will see every single thing for that theory is quotations because it's taken directly from the person who's given the theory. Yeah, we're going to do a quick revision, don't worry. Today's the first hour is scheduled such that, and yeah, I'll finish early because don't want to speak for 2 hours straight. I mean, I can. I don't mind. We love yapping. Hmm. Okay, let me open my thing. That's my first. Did you guys fill the form? By the way, anyone yet to fill the UGC-NET form? Because today is the last day for the application on the UGC portal. So don't forget. I am yet to fill because I wanted to try again. Have I told you guys about it? So I filled the form like 3 times, but every single time I was too lazy to get up early in the morning, and I fell back asleep. This happened too many times now. It's just sad at this point. Thing is, if you live in like Mumbai, you know that traveling from Malad to Powai at like 5 in the morning is not fun. Press the full screen option. There we go. Yes, 3 times. Yes. Yeah. I think I spent like almost 4K now, 5K now. Yes. But I never gave the exam. I just like did go for it. Yeah. I missed it as in I didn't go for it. Yeah. Didn't want to travel, didn't feel like getting up. Let's see this time. Let's see if I get up and I go. Yeah. Free will, yes. Uh, in that, like at 5 in the morning, because it was quite far and you had to reach your center by like 8 o'clock or something. I don't, I think it's like, yeah, you have to reach by 8 a.m. You have to reach there. No, I remember it was 8 a.m. And the afternoon one, it was in not even in Mumbai. It was somewhere so far. And I was like, I ain't traveling. In June, in monsoon, I ain't traveling, brother. You are not that important. You keep your this. It's cool. No, no, not privilege. It's would like would like to get their funding as well, but no, it just can't. So uh, June, yeah, I'm glad I didn't because anyways cancelled it. Yeah, have to travel this far for an exam that sucks. Yeah, all you have to do is just like imagine if this was a date, would I really travel? That has been my 5 a.m. decision. From Churchgate to Powai would be a lot. 3 hours. You can't give me net. I quit on travel. I came from Pune to Mumbai. Okay, it's making me feel bad now for being lazy. Okay. Wait, where I have to give people. Sarah, you here? Gonna give you permission to share to record. Till then, I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible? I'm joining from a different account as well so that I can see. Anyone in Mumbai? How are you liking the rain? Wait, don't say anything for like a second. Let me just. Not used to rains in May. क्या ही फर्क पड़ता है like what difference does it make ना May June what is the difference in a post global warming awareness world what difference does it make loving it from the house oh man I have been like in my balcony for like since morning I have just been sitting here and just like looking at the rain. It's so gloomy. It's so beautiful. Delhi as well. Thoda hai isliye it's cool. I like it in summers because it's cool down. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Going out is a nightmare. Yeah, that's a sweet thing. You don't have to go out. If you have stocked yourself with enough noodles, if you want Maggie or the what is that, the Balduk thing. I forget. I forget. Is that called Balduk? The delicious ramen thingy. Buldak, yes. I'm sorry. Buldak. My bad. Eating it. Okay, okay. Okay. Come back. We'll quickly go over what we went through. Okay, we went over the what existentialists believe in. We spoke about thrownness, which came from Heidegger. We spoke about being and Dasein, right? Over here, sign, Dasein. We talk about the different types of being and what is being. Being is the fact. What is Dasein? Dasein is the fact that its being, this being is very concerned about its very being. Basically, it's concerned about its own existence, right? Then we saw how the concept of the distinction of object and subject are not really something that Heidegger really likes. Then we spoke a little about a very light area, very very chill topic called death. Nothing too heavy, not heavy stuff, simple stuff, nothing too deep. Then we spoke about will to power, which we're going to cover a bit better here today because we need to understand three people, right? Um, Adler, Rollo May, and what's his name? Frankl. So for that, you have to take a good look at will to power. And what does Nietzsche write over here? He writes that a living thing seeks above all to discharge its strength. Life itself is will to power. Your power is not really like, you know, extending power over others. It's more like a mastery kind of a thing. You're not having power over others. We'll see another later quote later as to why, what that really means. We covered all of this, Adler versus Frankel, which we'll properly dissect today. Kierkegaard, Sartre, blah blah blah. Come on, I didn't go to, but okay, maybe some other day. All my notes are now mixed up together. Existential, Sam. So you just file them all under personality, not an issue. Okay. So we'll start with properly understanding will to power because this is one concept that is very important to understand the rest three, or rather to remember the rest three, right? So what Nietzsche is writing over here is that every specific body, this is not working. Now, every specific body strives to become master over all space and to extend its force, right? Like if there's a creature over here, it's trying to expand to become something more, right? I'll give you a better formulation over here. To Nietzsche, he's not saying that, a organism, let's say a very simple celled organism, this did not come into existence to survive. Because if it wanted to survive, I mean, being a rock is a better way to survive, right? If you're a rock, you will live for like what, thousands and thousands of years, as opposed to a human that will live for like what, 70 years, or a single cell that will live for like. So it doesn't make sense for it to, come into existence for this. To Nietzsche, this thing is basically trying to expand. Interesting analogy because this is actually the basis of my existential theory that I use for my practice, which I will, if you want, I can share a very brief document on that on my broadcast later. But the reason I take this analogy is because it's a part of my existential theory. Someday will be published, don't worry. But for now, let's focus here. Yes, Anand, is this class going to be recorded? Yes, no problem. Gotta go, mock drill started here. All right, no problem. Yeah, but I'll share my thing. It's a little dense, it's a little complex. So if you share the thing that I will share, might share, let me think about it. But he's saying that it's trying to expand. It's trying to be more, trying to, not master over others in a way of, like Dadagiri, this, trying to boss over other people. No, no, no. It's trying to become something else, trying to become more, right? And becoming is key here. Becoming. While again, this is my theories that I am just very briefly going over here, the way I dissect it, you might have seen it, of being and becoming. So this is where the becoming comes from. Whereas the being that he's spoken about is Dasein. Again, I won't go into my theories much because we don't have much time. But yeah, that is a very simple way of, again, very simple way of understanding the will to power. Right. So it's trying to extend its force and thrust back all that resists its extension. It's trying to move out of it, and everything that tries to resist it tries to move out of that too. So that's its will to power, to be, to become. Right. So he writes, I have found strength where one does not look for it, in simple, mild, and pleasant people, without the least desire to rule. See, here he's specifying that they're not trying to boss over other people. They don't have the desire to rule. The desire to rule has often appeared to me a weakness of weakness, a sign of weakness. Will to power is given by nature and adopted by Adler. We'll come to Adler's will. Will to power is Nietzsche's idea, but it is given, it is adopted by Adler, Frankl, Rollo May. All three of them have adopted it. But it all comes, which is why I'm focusing so much on Nietzsche over here, because all three of them, Adler, May, Frankl, they either agree with it or they resist it. The way, the Freudians and the Neo-Freudians disagree with the Freudians. So it's kind of like that, which is why I'm focusing on that here. And look at the way he describes the will to power over here. One of you also shared a picture of your collection which had will to power in that. The book Will to Power. I should clarify that that book is not really written by Nietzsche exactly. That it's written by his sister, who was a Nazi. So have to be careful. That book is not a great source if you ever want to understand Will to Power better. His other works are like Beyond Good and Evil, Thus Spoke Zarathustra are better. But coming back, he writes that even the body within which the individuals treat each other as equals will have to be an incarnate will to power. It will strive to grow, spread, seize, become predominant. I'm focusing on this because I want you to, like in the very next slide or the next to next slide, look at the way Adler is framing his words, how Adler is just for defining it. Look at this. It's the will to power is the strive to grow, to spread, to seize, become. Like seize here is not seize like boss over other people, like to capture in a way to make it a part of you kind of a thing. So not from any morality or immorality, but because it is living, like life itself is a will to power. And now we first see how Rollo May is describing it. And Rollo May is giving a very fun idea called daimonic. Daimonic, not demon. Not demon. Although the word demon does come from it, but demon is a different word. Demon refers to some kind of an evil entity. Daimonic is more like so in ancient Greek cultures, it's more like a spirit. Neither good, neither bad. It's like a guiding spirit, right? Like a guiding spirit. That's all it is in ancient Greek. So you'll see if you're reading like Plato and stuff, you will see him mention his daimon, his inner daimon guiding him what to do or what to say or what part to take. So Rollo May is saying, by the way, Rollo May is considered as the founder of existential therapy, and he is the one who brought existential therapy to America. But the fun part is that May took existential therapy from the Germans. Germans had something called as Dasein analysis. May is a boy, yes. Rollo May is a guy. I have a picture also of him down. Okay, did not think that would be good. So Rollo May is a guy. Just hey, okay. He took inspiration from Dasein analysis, which is unfortunately not that famous anymore. We just saw Dasein before. And he took this Dasein and he mistranslated it to existence or existential, which is why we call it existential therapy or existential psychotherapy. But it's not really accurate to call it existential. But ठीक है, अभी tradition बन गया है, कुछ कर नहीं सकते. So May kind of messed up there. Yes, Rollo is a guy's name too. So now look at the way he's defining. You see here, this is Rollo May. Did your teachers tell you it's a woman? Because that's going to be hilarious. I hope not. So, okay, your teacher didn't tell you, of course. Kubler-Ross is a woman. So you can see here the way he is describing it. Every being to affirm itself, assert itself, perpetuate and increase itself. You see, his daimon is so close to like nature's will to power because it's coming from a very similar thing. Are you guys like learning the genders of like different theorists in the field? Any okay, let's just clear this out. Any other Kubler-Ross is a woman, yes. You can Google, no? Take it. Coming back. So you can see here the daimonic is like a urge, a force within that's trying to just assert itself, perpetuate and increase itself. Right? You guys are getting like surprised by like the wrong thing here. We'll be discussing very cool stuff, very cool existential theories. I don't think the gender of someone is like supposed to be blowing your mind. It's all right. Okay, let's focus. Come back, come back. So the daimonic is an elemental force, an energy or urge. It's within everyone and functions as a source of constructive and destructive impulses. Right? Look at what he writes over here. It's a force inside that's a source of constructive and destructive impulses. Look at what he writes. The daimonic urge is integrated into personality, which to him is the purpose of psychotherapy. It results in creativity. But if it's not integrated properly, then it takes over the entire personality and it goes into violent rage or collective paranoia. Destructive activity is the result of this. Now, I'll ask you one very simple question. Read both and tell me which theorist that you have learned has this. Yes, very good. Very good. Is this like Eros and Thanatos? Excellent. Good association, right? Eros and Thanatos, right? And here what do you have? Constructive and destructive, right? I was hoping someone would make that connection. Very good. So it seems so similar. Like what he's saying over here, like resulting in creativity that is constructive, violent rage that is destructive. But the difference is that Freud's theory, this is teleological. Like let's take Thanatos for example. Why is it there? Why is the libido? Why is the energy being uh, channeled here to satisfy that urge? To in a way, to satisfy it or to fulfill it. So it's teleological because that's the end goal. But here, constructive and destructive are not really goals that it's going towards. It can go towards either because the daimonic, it can go either direction depending on the context. So it's not really teleological, not teleological. It's not moving towards an end goal. It just wants to expand itself, just assert and affirm to express its power. Now, whether it's constructive or destructive is dependent on how people see it. Right? If someone punches someone, it depends on how it is perceived. If it is perceived as in a boxing match, people don't really have a problem with it. But if it's seen in like uh, in on the road and stuff, it's going to be seen as destructive. So it's not really inherently constructive or destructive. It's contextual. It just wants to assert itself. Let's not go into entropy. Trust me, you do not want to touch it. I don't mind explaining it, but trust me, you don't. See, that's the thing. Yeah, very good question. But here, expansion is not a goal. Not a goal. Expansion is a process. Yes. Excellent. Expansion is not the goal because you can never expand fully to become something. Like, okay, abhi itna ho gaya that I've expanded so much now. Okay, done. No. It's a continuous process, which is why this is not teleological. Exactly. So it's not teleological, and that is one of the also ways they conceive this, right? Pathology, psychopathology, because you can always keep becoming. You will never want to stop becoming. You can keep becoming. So sometimes you'll see that with people, even when they have done something really well, right? They have, let's say, got first rank in their college or something. They don't feel happy. They feel like, okay, they feel relieved that, okay, this is over now. I'll just go to the next thing and do that and get that, achieve that, and keep achieving. Or people who want to keep hustling, and like by the age of 23, I need to become a millionaire. By the age of 20, by 30, I need to financially retire and stuff. So you have to be very careful, because otherwise you always want to keep becoming and becoming and becoming. Very curious of that. Yes. So that is his diamond. And this is May's. I'm going to write over here boy, because he's boy. Okay. He's not good. We're going to do Rollo May's gender reveal over here. What are what are called? Gender reveal parties. Yeah. May's daimon, which is very close to, pretty much borrowed from Nietzsche's will to power, with rainbow ink. Hey, we don't judge. Gender's a construct, so even boy is something in a way fluid. What is a boy? Now, will to power again, but the way Adler defines it, the way Adler looks at it. So Adler is talking about striving for superiority. This is where he is taking the will to power and applying it in psychology. Right? What do you think this means? Striving for superiority. What do you think this means? Have you ever come across it, learned it, basically like just brushed over Adler? Wanting to become better self? To get over inferiority, to overcome shortcomings? Yes, good, good. Community also, yes. Social interest? Yeah. So this word is actually mistranslated. In English, the word is wrong. It's mistranslated in a way, or rather, they've not picked the correct way. Look at what he writes. The basic striving, according to Adler, is Vollkommenheit, which is translated usually as completeness, or sometimes also as excellence. And in English, they consider only the second one, which is why it's striving for superiority, striving for excellence. But basically, he's saying that it all comes from striving for completeness, like, wholeness, to be complete, which is why you're trying to expand, no? To make more of things so that you feel complete. He looks so annoyed, like, ugh, Mondays. Mondays, am I right? Yeah, that's very off. Yes. So it's more like a striving for completeness, striving to, same thing that we were talking about, like a expansion, mastery over something. And he gives this very interesting idea, okay, called paradoxical instruction. Yeah, you know what? Jung also has a similar concept as Adler does, because Maslow's self-actualization, paradoxical intention. See, different from paradoxical intention. See, you've learned Frankl's paradoxical intention, but now you're seeing this. Why? Because he is the one who gave it. Adler is the one who first gave the concept. Paradoxical instruction. He called it paradoxical instruction. Yeah, you're seeing, right? The thing is, Adler is remembered as the guy who got ripped off. He's remembered as the guy who got ripped off because everyone has borrowed so heavily from him and not given him credit. No wonder he looks so annoyed. So let's do a side by side comparison. Okay, let's do a side by side comparison of Adler's paradoxical instruction and Frankl's paradoxical intention. Yes, from Adler. A lot of people have stolen from Adler. So look at what he is writing about paradoxical instruction. He's saying that it involves prescribing the symptom. If your client is overly self-critical, you might suggest that she criticize herself at a higher rate and intensity. And he's not saying just like keep doing this. He usually recommends like keeping an hour or something. During this hour, you criticize yourself 3 times more than usual. But only during that hour, not after that. Not after or before that. Okay. So he's prescribing the symptom. And he's like, okay, if you're overly self-critical, then criticize yourself at a higher rate and intensity. He's kind of like trying to, make the situation, make you aware of what the situation is really like. Does it even make sense? That's what he's trying to do. Like, does it make sense to you to criticize yourself like this? Now, okay, we will now look at a completely different concept called paradoxical intention. Very different, by Frankl. And let's see what Frankl says. Frankl defines paradoxical intention as the patient is encouraged to do or wish to happen the very thing he fears. Didn't get paradoxical instruction. It's basically telling them that, okay, you are self-critical, you consider yourself self-critical, you keep doing that then. Okay. In the next week, you have to do it 3 times more. Instead of telling them that don't be self-critical, you're telling them do it more. Do it more than usual. Ah, yes. So, how does that help? So what he's doing is that he's trying to make you aware of the absurdity of it. When you start criticizing yourself 3 times more, you start becoming aware of how absurd it all sounds. Or 2 times more, like when you might say, oh, I just didn't do a good job. Now you have to keep adding on to that thought again and again and again. So now you're trying to think of things that I can say that are mean, and you start to realize how absurd it all is, saying all of these things. And Frankl has pretty much just copy pasted that concept from Adler. He's saying the patient is encouraged to do or to wish to happen the very things he fears. That the things that you fear, do those or wish those to happen to you. So the former is more like a phobic patient, and the latter is more like obsessive compulsive. Yeah, pretty much. But remember, these both are usually done with a trained exposure. Yes, is kind of most of the behavioral desensitization kind of a thing is borrowed, kind of not borrowed really, but do have a similar logic. So yeah, fun, inspired. Yes, creative inference, very gestaltish. Okay, so now. So I have very briefly summarized the concept of it, but you need to read up on Sneha. You need to read up exactly on how the procedure is done. It's not so simple. Like I was just giving it. There's a very specific way. Both are the same. There is no difference. So if I give you an example of one, it's pretty much the same. There is no really difference between the two. There's no reason to get confused between the two because both are same. So yeah, so Sneha, that you can just read up a little on it. You can just have a look. Yeah. Okay. We look at May's stages of development. This has been asked in NET, I think, 2-3 times. They love asking this question. Yeah. Difference between Frankl and Adler ka paradoxical. I don't see any difference. See, you can say that the authority lies outside or within, but that really makes no difference because the concept is pretty much the same. Even with Adler, He's not really giving an outside authority. Neither is May, because both are pretty humanistic. To them, the authority lies within, which is why you see stuff like suggestions being part of Adlerian concepts. No, no, no. Instruction is also again not. It's just what he's called it. It could also be a translation problem, but Adler uses words like suggestion. Suggesting to the client. I'm not giving like an advice kind of a thing. Suggestion. It suggests this thing. So Adler is also very soft boy. Okay, he was one of the first few to be in support of women's rights. Do you know about the time he was almost beaten up by Freudians? He was beaten up for being a A-rate feminist, a top tier feminist. No, Adler was almost beaten up by the Freudians for being a no, no, not Horney. Adler, Alfred Adler. So I'll tell you what. This is very cool. So in the early 1900s, Adler was the president of the Psychoanalytic Society, right? Of the Psychoanalytic Association. Freud was not the president at that point. He had stepped down and Adler became the president. And at that point, Adler read a very controversial paper called Masculine Protest. So I won't go into the full feud, but basically, Freud believed that women were not taking up the position of power and being very authoritative because they were just not built that way, and that if any woman who is taking up such positions, it's because of a reaction formation or because it's a kind of a neurotic or a hysteric thing. And Adler read out this one paper in the meeting on the masculine protest, where he's saying that the reason women end up being, what they call tomboyish, is not because of some kind of a reaction formation or because of some unconscious drive, but because society has pushed them so much that to counter it, they end up becoming, modeling in a way the people in authority. And who are the people in authority? Usually men. So they end up resembling them. So it's like a protest that they're putting out against the oppressive society. And this guy was almost beaten up for, in front of Freud. He read this paper out. He didn't give the idea of masculine protest. It was a paper published by someone else, but he read it out in the meeting. They would read works. And when they were about to beat him up, Freud said, we don't need to get down to this. We'll very simply, very amicably, very peacefully deal with this. If you think that Adler should continue being the president, I will leave. If you think I should be the real president, I should be the leader, then Adler will leave. It's up to you. Everyone who's sitting over here, you get to decide. And they voted Freud, and Freud became the president again, I think. He became the president, and Adler left. And within that week after he left, he set up individual psychology. Where do you get to know this from? Well, there's some books here and there that I read. Okay. So you ever think that Adler doesn't get credit, man. Adler is he's just treated wrong. Many people, Adler, Horney, Klein, they're just treated horribly. Yeah. Yeah. There are lots of gossip in the thing that they just don't. I don't know why we don't teach psych in such a fun way. There's so much fun stuff happening. Okay. Let's come back to May stages of development. It's very important for most exams. Which book? I think this was in Flanagan's textbook of counseling psychology. Flanagan, Flanagan, Flanagan. It's a very fun textbook to read. Flanagan's textbook of psychology and of counseling. Very interesting book. Okay, now let's do May stages of development. Okay, there's 4 stages. All right. So the very first stage is innocence. Okay, it's like a pre-egoic, pre-self, pre-conscious. So there's like no right or wrong really. Like there's no bad nor good. Like a wild animal who kills to eat. The innocent is only doing what he or she must do. There's nothing more to it. That's all. It's like a child, the way a child is. Or if you're familiar with this very famous, in fact, the very first story ever written, right? The first written record that we have of called the Epic of Gilgamesh. Yeah, it's the very first story ever written. I think so. Yeah, it's one of the oldest stories or the very first stories. And in that, there's this one character called Enkidu. Enkidu is not born. He was put on earth directly as a man by the gods. So when this guy was put on earth, he started living with the animals. Adam, you know what? A good number of religious mythologies actually come from Epic of Gilgamesh. Like the Noah's flood and all of that actually comes from Epic of Gilgamesh. But I won't get into that. So the animals, he used to live with them. Enkidu used to live with the animals. He could not speak. He could not communicate. He lived like a wild animal. And this is what Enkidu would be described as innocence, right? Pre-egoic, pre-self-conscious. He didn't have an idea of himself. He didn't have a name. He didn't know anything. So to him, the innocent is premoral, and that is how Enkidu was. He was premoral. All the animals loved him. They spent time with him because he was not a good or a bad guy. Okay. Then the next stage is rebellion. So the rebellious person wants freedom, but does not yet have a good understanding of the responsibility. Now, here you see that the ego is starting to develop properly, which means that the person has an identity. May doesn't really describe age really for this. Teenage could be, yes, but yeah. You see an identity, you see a language, and we'll get back to our Enkidu example. Enkidu, the king of Ur, right, Gilgamesh himself, he sees this wild man who's incredibly strong. So what he does is he tells this one priestess to go and seduce him. So when she goes and seduces him, and they have an affair kind of a thing. The second that he touches another human, he is able to speak. He's able to speak and language develops for him. But in that very second, all the animals abandon him. They don't even want to see his face. They don't want to touch him because it's kind of a symbolic thing that he's lost his innocence. It's a very beautiful thing that he's lost his innocence. And with the rebellious stage, it's not just rebellion. Okay, purity. I don't really want to call it purity. Really, innocence is a better way of phrasing it than purity. And here, this is one of the core. Yeah, it does sound a little radical. This is one of the core existential ideas of a person wanting freedom but not wanting to take the responsibility for it. Right? Because we are free, but we are not free from consequences. These two are separate ideas. And the rebellious person at the rebellion stage is not aware of this. They want to be free, but they don't want to take the responsibility, or they don't understand the responsibility that goes with it. Okay. The third stage is ordinary or ordinary creativity or ordinary self. Ordinary self. The normal adult ego has now understood that there is something known as consequence or responsibility, but it's too demanding for them. So they take refuge in like conformity, traditional values, in ideologies. Yeah, pretty much. Didn't expect Hero's Journey to be here. What's his name? Campbell. James Campbell? Something Campbell. It's a very good book. Yeah. Hero's Journey. Whatever it is behind ideology or whatever they seek tradition. Joseph Campbell, yes, thank you. They take traditional values or refuge in conformity. That's the third stage. They've accepted responsibilities there, but might as well defer the responsibility to someone else. And the last stage is the authentic adult, which is creative, the creative self. So this is the authentic adult or the existential stage, self-actualization, transcendence, simple egocentrism. All of them are taking transcending simple egocentrism. It's taking place here. where you are not conforming but deciding for yourself. And that is the last stage. And those are the 4 stages of May: innocence, rebellion, ordinary, and creative. Remember this pattern very well. They'll ask it. Okay. I think this is the last thing for today before we finish existential. There's another existential theorist. Last for existential. Okay, उसके बाद दूसरा है. There's this one existential theorist called Martin Buber. Okay. He has given this one concept called I thou. Revise, no, I'll give you MCQs. He's given this one concept called I thou. Okay. I thou stands in contrast. Okay. There's 2 relations, I thou and I you. I thou is more like a relationship with someone just for who they are. Nothing more. I don't love you because XYZ, whatever. I don't want to be with you XYZ. It's because you are here as a person. It's just me and you, but like a formal you over here, because it's just me and you. And as individuals, not me and you as friends, not me and you as someone who share the same political belief, not me and you who share the same interests. It's just me and you. And this can also be about like me and a pet or me and a tree or something. It's just a very very beautiful way of experiencing the world. It's just me with my experiences and you with your experiences, and we are here together. Whereas an I you is slightly more superficial. It's me and you because I can get something out of you, or me and you because we're close to each other, might as well be friends. So it's more superficial. Pretty much. I and me positions. By whom? Like, this is a theory you're referring to? Yes. The I thou relationship that Adler is talking about is this one. That Yalom is talking about is this one. The one that yeah, so I don't want to say conditional and unconditional positive regard, because Buber's conceptualization is slightly more deeper than that. Roger's conditional and unconditional is not as deep as Buber's. To explain it right now, I'm keeping it simpler. You can remember it that way, not a problem. But Martin Buber's conception is very, very deep. It's like a very short book, like 100 pages, but it's very deep. But yes, Yalom is taking from here. Okay. Someone said to revise the 4 stages. So innocence is like a pre-moral, right? No good, no bad. You remember our Enkidu guy, right? He was with the animals. Rebellion is you understand that you are free and you have a choice, but you don't want to accept the consequence. Ordinary, you accept the consequence, you accept there are consequences, but you adhere to conformity to deal with the demands of it. And lastly, here, you don't deal with the demands with conformity. So that's the 4 stages. Okay. Any questions so far before I show you the MCQs? Oops. Examples of what? Of each stage. You can just imagine it like a child, right? Over here. A child who doesn't really understand. You know how children will come to you and they'll be like, there's a mole on your face. They're not doing it because they are mean or something, they're rude. They just don't know that, what they've said is wrong. They don't understand that. So it's kind of an innocence. It's pre-moral. They don't know that sometimes a child will just hit someone. They don't know that they've hit someone out of their own free choice. They don't know it's a wrong thing. But if you're an adult and you hit someone, you in the rebellion stage, you can't, in the rebellion stage, they will not accept that there's no malicious intent with the innocence. In rebellion, they'll hit, like a teenager will be like, I want to get out of house, I want to go somewhere here. But they'll be like, there's no consequence to it as well. Like with a someone who's hitting someone but expecting that don't hit me back. That's not, you can't hit me back. With the ordinary states, they'll be like, okay, I'll hit someone. No, I won't hit someone because I have the free choice to do that. And to deal with such situations, I'll hide behind some, political guy. They'll keep me safe. And with the creative, it's more like realizing that why do you need to hit? You're not hitting not because you're hiding behind some political guy or something. It's just that you are deciding for yourself what is the right, what is the way you would like to live. There's no age ranges. It is sequential, but there's no age ranges. Age brackets also in the stages. No, there's no age bracket. He's not putting ages really to this. So you won't be going into, yeah. So the thing is, Buber's concept is very complex. I don't mind explaining it, but it'll take like an hour itself. There's a very fun series on YouTube, like 7 videos or something. If you really want to understand Buber, that there's this guy who explains it really well. Crap. Okay, we'll do MCQs. Okay, now we should be able to ace this. What is the answer? Yep. See, now we know. Earlier you were so confused about it. Okay, next. The term will to meaning is associated with. Yup. Viktor Frankl. Okay. Next. The term will to power is associated with. Very good. See, last time I was confused about this as well. Okay. Next. Paradoxical intention falls under which of the following? Yes. 2. Logotherapy. Paradoxical intention. Huh? Intention is Frankl. Instruction is Adler. Again, no really difference between them, but yeah. Okay. Now, here. Very nice. Yeah. We started with feeling very uncertain, confused, not knowing, and now you've gotten a good grasp of it. Okay. We'll do one thing. We'll take a short break. Uh, you can take 2 minutes and we'll come back. Okay. And then we'll do the next theorist. Awesome. Yes, hello, I'll be back. Yeah, we're taking personality because second professor, it was supposed to be research today. The second hour was supposed to be research as well, but because the professor is not feeling well, I am taking the second hour. Which YouTube series? I'll see if I can find it a little. The second lecture will begin soon now. Few minutes did mention time, but see the second one, anyways, because I had very short time to prepare it. I didn't cover all of it, so I'm breaking it into two halves, and we'll finish by 7:30:35. Okay, so um, don't have to rush it. We can have a fun with it. I had a question. How do you remember all these references so well? See, I forget like 70% of what I read, but then sometimes I come across different things and they just stick. It's not about remembering everything. It's what sticks to you. So if I'm giving you these references, it's because say if I'm talking about May stages of development, the Epic of Gilgamesh is stuck to me, so I can use that to talk to you. So it's not about remembering all these references because there's like an iceberg of references that I don't remember, but a few that I do. The more and more you read, the more and more things are going to stick. The more and more you, I don't know, consume, but the more you learn, not learn. Really. Also, the more things you find fascinating, the more things stick. That's all. And you don't even have to remember everything about it. Yeah. You don't have to remember every single thing. Who, what, when, where, why. Not necessary. You take a gist of it with you wherever you go. Even the way UGC um, requires you to remember random nonsense. When was Freud's birthday? When was this? Which year was this book published in? Who published this book? That's not necessary. It's not necessary for a not a necessary trait for a professor. Even Arjun had mentioned this that a person should not be learning these things, should not be tested on these things. A professor should be uh, tested on not just knowledge of concepts, but also their ability to, let's say, make sense of it. How well do they understand it? Do they really understand it, or is it like an illusion of knowledge? If I mention something like fact analysis, if I mention something like correlation, if I mention something like, um, let's say, some theories, right? Freud's theories. Everyone like, oh, we know Freud, yes. We know psychosexual stages and all of that. Erikson, we know, we know. But do you really? Do you really know? Or do you think you know it? And if a professor is in that space of illusion of knowledge, right? That they think they know, it's a poor quality. Because then they're going to bullshit. They're going to confabulate, they're going to make up stuff. That is not right. And then students take that with them, which is what happens in a good number of stats classes because they don't understand concepts. They don't understand standard deviation. So what they'll do, they just throw bigger concepts at students till they just shut up about it. That this is just how it is, you believe us. Why is the formula like this? Because it is. It has been built this way. We don't understand it, but you also don't understand. It's not right. Even I didn't have psychics. Forgetting is normal. In fact, William James said something very beautiful that forgetting is like a gift to mankind. If we could remember every horrible thing that happened to us since we were kids, all the traumatic experiences, it would be nothing short of a nightmare. So it's a good thing that you're forgetting. Sometimes you forget stuff that other people consider important. Sometimes you forget your own mistakes and you realize that you're capable of doing things. Okay, you messed up in the past, but you're still capable of things. And that's okay. That's good. If we didn't forget, we'd carry every single scar with us. Do we want to forget? Do we really? Maybe. But if I tell you to forget something, you're going to be trying even harder to forget. The harder you try to forget something, the more you reinforce it. You'll remember it much better. Right. So want is like a will that you have. Right. I want to do this. With the Freudian, it's more like it's something that's below your conscious wanting, because that will is that will to want something. It's very uh, surface level, and you don't choose to forget these things. They just pushed before they can even reach there. Am I going to do a PhD? Yeah, yes. To become a professor? No. To do research, I will teach. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Then there is a section of people who remember every bad thing that's happened and nothing else. Um, See, I'll tell you what. With them, it's not that they are not forgetting. Forgetting is not the issue. There's a reason why everything that's happened bad is coming back again and again. Because the only reason they're telling themselves that again and again is because other people have told them that. They usually have parents who keep reminding them that you have done this bad, you did this mistake, you did that. So then that voice of the parent who has been criticizing, or parent, sibling, uncle, whoever it is, it gets introjected, taken inside, and then that voice sticks with you, and it keeps hounding you that you have made these mistakes. So sometimes when I am since I take therapy sessions as well, I ask that, is this your voice or is this someone else's voice? So it's not that they're bad at forgetting the stuff that's happened. It's just that it's not their voice. Yes, forgetting about childhood is very normal. Oh, that's good to hear, Arya. So close to home. Okay. Um, I hope you guys. I took a little longer with existential because it's people like Rollo May, Adler. Okay. Adler doesn't really count. He counts an individual, but fine for now. Frankl, they don't really get the respect they deserve. I didn't even get to cover Yalom. And Yalom I'm not covering because they don't really ask all that much for UGC-NET. For MPhil, very important. MPhil, damn important. The For MPhil, Yalom's existential stages are important, and group therapy, the factors that he has, right? Universality, altruism, blah blah blah. There's many factors that he's given. Developing social techniques. There's a few factors that he's given. Very important. Nimans likes to ask the Yalom's group therapy. I think 2 times they've asked now. I am a psychometrician, but I like teaching as well. I do different things. Psychometry because it is fun. Teaching because it is fun. It's just there's no I prefer more than the other. It's just different things. For Yalom, it's the existential givens, GIVENS, existential givens, freedom, death, responsibility. No, wait, freedom, death, isolation, and meaning. Uh, then the other thing is Yalom's group therapy. Now, if you type Yalom's group therapy, you're going to be sent directly to Amazon to buy that really huge book, which costs in like thousands. You'll find a summary of it somewhere else with the topics, with the stages, not stages, they are factors. Stages or factors kind of a thing that are very important for group therapy to be successful in a way. So there is like many things like altruism, universality, existential risks. There's different things in that. And Nimans has asked about it 2 times, if I'm not mistaken. 2023 they asked, and I think the year before that. So they tend to ask about it. And that's the thing, right? You're not going to learn these things. You're not going to be taught these things in your classes. So if you want to clear these exams, you have to kind of push yourself in a way. Even someone like me has to push myself, despite the fact I read these things, because it's just a different game. Yeah, sure. Yeah, less than 17 days. Yeah, 7th May, no, 17 days left. You're giving demands. If you meet me outside the hall, say hi. I'll be there in Bangalore. Take after class, we'll go over uh, some of the things that they tend to ask. Or do you want to do some very fun thing? Someone had shared the. Actually, no, let's not do that because copyright lagega. No, wait, let's do one thing. So I have the 2023 paper ka thing, right? Someone had shared also from that other book. But yeah, if you want, we can go over the 2023 Niman's paper. Yes. I had it separately as well, not power within, but yeah. That won't be recorded, that won't be live because don't want to share that info. But we'll go over that paper after this. Okay. And I'll also point out a few topics that they have repeated like in 2-3 years. Like this one guy that they keep asking again and again and again is Maxwell Jones. Maxwell Jones, Thomas and Chess, not trying not to get cancelled, trying not to get sued. We had a company, dude. Would you recommend the power within? It's actually pretty good. See, I'll tell you what. Given that you have like 20 days, you can't go through those 4 books. I'll just be very honest. It's difficult. So yeah, those books are huge. They're very good. If you had like 6 months, awesome. They also got the division correct. The division of the way Niman's exam is. From what I noticed, it looked like 70% is like general psych and 30% is like clinical psychotherapy, biopsych tips sometimes, then personality. So what they do is they give you kind of this 30% of advanced stuff. And the way those books are also arranged are that volume 1, abnormal psychotherapy. Volume 2 is advanced stuff, like edge cases that they don't teach you about, like meta-analysis and stuff. Volume 3 is general psych, cognition, emotion, motivation, etc., etc. And volume 4 is MCQs or something. So they've divided properly, but it just, you don't have the time for it. Yeah, they ask about ethics, the Mental Health Act 2017, RCI acts, and all of that. They keep asking, should I book the tickets? Go. Yes. My master's only ended 30th April. What are you waiting for? Please do. I had to book my tickets and then cancel again because they shifted the dates and then book all over again. Demands. Okay. We'll get started with this class and we'll wrap up quickly so that we can also focus on the other. Yeah, I say girls sometimes. Don't mind that. Okay. Who do you think we are doing next? Which theorist is next? Okay, Arya's guessing Erikson. What about the rest? Who do you think we're doing? Piaget in personality? See, I wouldn't mind doing Adler in no, existential is over. I wouldn't mind doing Adler again in depth, but they don't ask properly about it that much also. Adler itna पूछते नहीं. Frankl, no, I'm not giving that cheat, that copycat any more respect. I mean, I'm sorry for his loss. He had a very bad life. But as an academician, I will not go easy on him. Did not like his existential thing. Carl Rogers, Alport, Kelly or Rogers. No. We're going to do a theorist that you've never ever heard of in your life. Freud? Where is this hate coming from? It's not really the thing is, I don't like logotherapy. It just sucks. His will to meaning is very teleological that, we are like, trying to get, shut up. Not a fan of it. Adler is the OG. He is the GOAT. If I could, I would consider Adler an existential therapist and not Frankl. Man's Search for Meaning was a beautiful book. Don't want to. He's a credit stealer. Freud किया ना उसने. ठीक है. So we're doing someone who you've never ever heard of before. His name is Erikson. Okay. Listen, before you start losing interest, before you start leaving, and listen, I do not want you to see Erikson in the same way before. I don't want you to think him that the stages are there, the the virtues are there, blah blah blah, to remember it. No, none of that nonsense. Okay, crisis, etc. Don't think of it only. It's very boring to learn that way. It's incredibly boring. Yes, to remember it all. Okay, so we'll do one thing. Instead of looking at Erikson that way, instead of focusing on Erikson that way. Yes, Arya, you were right. Instead of giving him that very boring status, we're going to do something better. We're going to actually focus on what he actually said. What is he actually saying? Because if you just go through the table of like the stages, you're gonna get bored out of your mind. So we'll focus on the first few stages, but not really as stages. Not as stages. They are not in a stage form right now. There is something very interesting about the human experience. And you'll see why Erikson is not really creating a new developmental stage theory. He's practically adding an extension, a better explanation to Freud. Which is why the first stage, the trust versus mistrust, I don't want to call it trust versus mistrust. I don't want to call it that. I'll call it something like oral sensory stage or oral sensory, because that is more accurate to what he's trying to do. Okay, so let's give Erikson a chance to explain himself as to why his theory has been taken and boiled down at something very boring when it's not. So give the man a chance. He deserves it. I mean, I don't really know. Maybe I don't really know if he was a nice person. I mean, seems like a nice guy, right? But can't really know. Okay, let me share my screen. And after this, I promise you, you will never ever have to worry about remembering the stages. Because you're not going to, because honestly, people forget the stages like very quickly. But once I read it in his own words, I never forgot it. I remember it word by word because it made sense. It fit like, the Jenga blocks. Okay. Oh, someone was saying spill the tea because I was drinking tea. Oh, damn, sorry. My bad. I missed that. I'm too slow. My bad. Sorry, guys. It's been a day. Give it a second. Is it visible? I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah. Okay, I don't know why I can't see it, but if you guys can see it, fine. Oh, okay, now I see it on my device. Yes. Okay, awesome. So, instead of calling it Erikson's stages and all of that, we'll give it the name that it properly deserves, which is like an epigenetic stage or epigenetic. We'll get to this. Don't worry about that. Okay. So, before we even get started with the stage theory nonsense that usually they give, we'll try to understand where he's even coming from, right? Erikson is not really disagreeing with Freud, but he's making some extension. He's making some changes. He's not agreeing fully, but he's not disagreeing fully also, right? He's making some extension, some changes. He's like, okay, Freud has given me this very cool concepts he's given, but he's like, it's thoda incomplete. It's not really properly complete. So let me fill the gaps. Let me make it better. So the very first thing that he focuses on is the ego, right? In Freudian ego, in Freudian psychoanalysis, the ego's job is most like an mediating thing, right? They're like, oh, reality principle, trying to navigate both the pleasure principle and the superego and stuff. But to Erikson, the ego is far more than that. It's not just a mediator, right? It's not the mediator between the id and the superego. It's not only doing that. Dude has multiple jobs. He's hustling. The ego is a hustler. You thought he was a 9 to 5 person? No, you were wrong. He has more than one job. His ego is going to be a millionaire by the time he's 27 because he's a hustler. Yeah, he's moonlighting. Yes, that's a very formal word. We don't moonlighting is very organizational side. Yes, burnout incoming. Yeah. So his job is more beyond that, beyond just this. It serves healthy functions, and you'll realize that this kind of a core concept is also the foundation of ego psychology, where you have figures like uh, Anna Freud. There's Heinz Hartmann. There's this guy in Spitz. Yeah, you'll remember this guy. So they're talking about ego functions. See, Anna Freud can't really go and directly be like, no, Freud was wrong. She can't really do that, right? So she's like, Freud was right, her dad was right, but she's expanding a little on ego functions. On the ego has more roles, it has more. So it's a very safe way for her to progress as well, without being coming across as someone who's denying her father. And there's this guy also, Heinz Hartmann is also pretty much one of the founding fathers of ego psych, right? So you see here that Erikson is under this kind of a framework of ego psychology. He's not really Freudian. He's not coming under the traditional psychoanalytic method. He's coming under closer to the ego psych folks. And he's saying that the ego has some other functions beyond just this. What is the function? One of the functions is to preserve identity. To preserve identity. Right? So it's like he divides that further into saying that it can be about individuality. That you are a person separate from others. That you might have, I'm not sure if you have studied, but there's this another psychoanalyst, Margaret Mahler, I think. She gives the theory of separation, individuation. Yeah. So you might have heard of her in like schizophrenic theories, in psychoanalytic schizophrenia theories. So she's saying that when the child is born, they do not see themselves as being different. Like me and mother are same, one person. But as they keep getting older, right, bit like 2 years and above, they start seeing themselves as separate people. Me separate, mother separate. So this differentiation is happening. So you can like go and like later check her stages. There's the simple autistic, simple I don't remember right now. Symptotic, something like that. I don't remember now. Differentiation and the separation, individuation. It has a few phases. So this guy, he is also symbiotic. Yes, thank you. He's also saying that listen, the ego's function is to do this, to separate. The ego is trying to maintain your identity, one of which is individuality, to make sure that you are a separate person, a separate entity from everything else. Separate. The second thing is to maintain a sense of wholeness, that if I am bad on some day, that doesn't mean I am bad. It's just that on other days I was good, so I will maintain this. and it's trying to make sense of it. You might have studied cognitive dissonance, right? That, oh no, I think of myself as a good person, but I've done something bad. So this is where the ego is coming in to like manage it. The ego is coming to like save the day. That, listen, don't worry about it. It wasn't your fault. It's not your fault. You are not the bad person. It is someone else's. Blame your parents, blame someone else. And this also ties in well with social psych, attribution theories, right? It's not my fault. It's not an internal disposition. It wasn't me. It ain't me, bro. It's just that the circumstance was this. So that's a individual, the wholeness kind of a thing. And later, if you want, you can also tie this in with yes, fundamental attribution error. Another theorist called Sullivan, who divides it into, you know, good me, bad me. We'll cover this later, but just a reference point. And not me. And these are separate entities within the child. And how are they perceiving themselves? So again, later we'll see, if we have time, we'll cover Sullivan. Next is another part of identity is sameness and continuity. That the person who was me yesterday is me today and will continue to be me today. The person who was me when they were 7 years old is the same when they were 14, is the same when they're 28. It's the same person. It does not change. And if you're a very keen-eyed person, you'll start seeing that failures here, in a way, kind of feel symbolic or suggestive of certain disorders. I won't name the disorders here, but you can think about it. And if the ego is failing to do that, failing to integrate identity, those disorders form here. Now, Erikson is not going into that, but something to think about, something interesting. And lastly, it's like social solidarity, that the values and ideals that are there outside, right? The values and ideals. Is it really in conflict with who I am? Am I fitting in well? Am I doing good? Am I fine? Is it against my identity? So ego's job, the first job is identity, right? The word identity might be, triggering for people from Christ because of ID cards and stuff, but yeah, don't worry, we are not as strict. Okay, is this first function clear of the ego? Have you been taught this before with Erikson's ego functions? Has anyone ever been taught these? No. See, they leave so much fun stuff there. Okay, no worries. We'll talk about the second ego function. He's given two ego functions. Here, first, this is the first one. The second one, you are going to be so surprised because this is a guest appearance from what we've been talking about in the past 2 lectures. Second one is mastery. Guess who has come here? Guess which soft boy has just come out of nowhere? Like what? Adler? Again, you're seeing, right? Like everyone's just like stealing from Adler. And Adler doesn't even get it. So Adler is the real one, okay? He's the friend who gives you money and doesn't ask for it back. He's the real one. So Adler has just come back out of nowhere. He's the OG cool girl, yes. If Adler was in a movie, would he be Legally Blonde? What do you guys think? It girl. Yeah. Can't throw properly. Sad. Coming back. Fine. We'll say that, he would be the supporting character. Yeah, sad. So mastery over here is an ego function. This is the second ego function, okay? Second, that affords pleasures unrelated to the satisfaction of the id impulses. Yeah, your basic drives are there, right? Of hunger, thirst, sexuality, etc., etc. It's beyond that. It's not related to it. It's unrelated to it. And its frustration also invokes rage. So you're trying to get mastery over something. You're trying to, again, over here, mastery is more like, trying to be in, not control really, but trying to do well in something, to excel in a way, the way Adler is talking about it, to feel complete. So these are the two ego functions of Erikson. So what is our homeboy Erikson saying? Erikson is saying that the ego has two healthy functions. It's not just trying to break the fight between uh, the id and the superego. It's also trying to form a good identity. Who are we? Who am I? Who are you? Very existential. And then finally, the ego is also trying to do mastery. So yes, Bandera also talks about mastery. You don't worry about that. It keeps coming up. So when we're talking about the stages, it's mainly these two ego functions coming up again and again. You learn trust versus mistrust, this inferiority versus industry, blah blah blah. No. It's these two ego functions that are playing a job, like playing a role. It's their time to shine. They are the ones here. So let's look at this. When he is, what is mastery? Mastery is more like, if there is a conflict, right? If there is you can see here, it's affording pleasure related to the satisfaction, but pleasures are unrelated to aid impulse. So it might be an impulse like, wanting to do well in school. This is not an impulse coming from the id. This is not an impulse coming from the id. Or something like wanting to clear net. The only way you can clear net is if you have a kind of a mastery over the way you need to prepare for this. And now mastery over here doesn't mean that you need to know everything about psych. It just means you need to prepare smartly so that you can develop a good sense of confidence for yourself that you prepared well. Otherwise, you might study everything and still go over there and feel shitty about yourself. And the second you are outside the hall, people will be like, "Hey, bro, did you study this?" And your confidence shatters. So no, not that one is the first. That is the first thing. Secondly, it's also to that there is some environmental task, some challenge. You're still trying to deal with that, the demands of the world, because that is what the ego is inevitably called, right? The reality principles, trying to deal with the real world, the demands of the real world. Okay, fine. So over here, his stages are usually called epigenetic. Now, epi just means upon, and genetic here does not mean genetic like in genes. Genes, DNA doesn't mean that. Genetic usually is used in a broader sense to mean like, the origin of something or emergence or even development. Yes, emerging property, genesis. Yes, genesis is a very good way. Genesis is more like a beginning, right? Yeah. Genesis, you usually, if you see like the Hebrew words for it and stuff, where it comes from. Genesis doesn't come from Hebrew, but it comes more like from Latin. But sometimes in Hebrew translations, like they use the word Bereshit in Hebrew. It means from in the beginning. Where is it beginning from? This is the starting point. Formation, yes. And that is what we are talking about when we're saying Genesis over here. So to him, these stages that we say, right, are in a way born out of, emerge out of some environmental need, some demand, and more importantly, the ego functions. Okay, clear so far? Can I get a thumbs up if you're clear so far? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So with that, we'll go to the very first stage. Oral sensory. I'm not going to call it trust versus mistrust. That's how you've learned it. But think about it properly. Okay. Why am I calling it oral sensory? Look at the way Erikson is writing about it. This is from here on, it's just Erikson's whatever is written. So he's saying that a willingness to let the mother out of sight without undue anxiety or rage because she has become an inner certainty as well as an outer predictability. That basically the child sees the mother as a source of food, right? And the child has learned that, bro, if food is not there, it's not going to feel good. And you realize same. So the child has realized this, right? So he's like, listen, if this person disappears, it ain't going to be fun. So if the lady with the food is gone, we are screwed. So the child is feeling anxious. The child is feeling terrible about it, that where is this lady going, right? So the amount of trust derived, sorry, from the earliest infantile experience depends on the quality of the maternal relation. That if the child has very safe experience with the parent, that okay, this person has disappeared, but they have come back. They keep coming back, so I don't have to worry even if they disappear for some reason. If they disappear, they'll keep coming back, and when I come back, they soothe or they feed again. So we're feeling secure. Yes. So because of that, the child develops trust. Mothers create a sense of trust in their children because the individual needs and a firm sense of personal trustworthiness is being developed. So when you're thinking of the first stage, don't think what I have to remember. It's there's the child who's hungry as AF, them. It's hungry AF. And they are scared. Is this food source going to return? So if the relationship is good, if the relationship is doing well with the parent, okay, usually they say mother, and right now, okay, mother makes sense because mother is the source of food. But if the relationship is good, it develops into trust. But if it's not doing so well, it develops into mistrust. That, listen, you gave me food that time, but then you didn't come back, and I was hungry. So why should I trust you again? तुम तो भाग गए, you ran away, you didn't come back. Why should I trust you? So the child then becomes very agitated, like, why should I trust you? And what does this do? What does this result in? And this results, like with trust, it results in hope. What you learn as like virtues, right? Virtues or values. Why is it hope? Because every parent is going to mess up in some shape or form. But if the trust experiences end up being more than mistrust, we've seen over here, right? When is trust developing? When the child sees that okay, this person is returning. Yes, Sam had also spoken about it. The good breast, evil breast, right? The bad breast, Kleinian splitting. Yes. So if the trust is greater than the mistrust, the child feels hopeful. They feel hopeful about the future. That okay, right now you are not here, but in the future you will come back. So this applies then to the child throughout all stages. That okay, I have a secure relationship. My parent is not here right now, but they will come. Okay, I feel scared that my partner is not here, but I trust them. I feel hopeful about our relationship because in a way they're all satisfying some need, and because of this the hope is developing here. If this hope is not developed, the child will not be able to hope for the future. So if say someone is very insecure, oh my god, my partner has gone out, who knows, now she'll cheat on me, oh my god, I should not let her go out. Where is this coming from? Because they have no hope for the future. Why? Because they don't have trust over here. The trust is only not. What is this trust trying to do? For the child, it's trying to satisfy a fear that I will not be fed. For the adult, it's trying to do what? Satisfy a need to be loved. Does this make sense? Has it ever been uh, taught you this way with Erikson stages? So that is why we are calling it like the first stage, trust versus mistrust. Why? Because the child needs access to food. Now, food over here translates into mother. And what is mother here? The very first instance of a relation. And if this relation is screwed up, like screwed up as in like they don't feel secure, it results in mistrust. If that feels safe, it results in trust. And if trust is built, what happens then? They feel hopeful that okay, I trust you. You will not hurt me. You will come back. You will come back and feed me or assure me or take care of me or whatever. Yeah, reassurance. So that is the very first stage. Okay. Oh, I think I accidentally put it twice. My bad. The next stage, what you learn as autonomy versus shame and guilt is very simply the muscular anal states. Remember over here, anal. Earlier also we saw oral. I hope you're noticing that these are Freudian psychosexual stages. They're here because, as I mentioned, Erikson is here to extend Freud's work, not to challenge it. So he's over here, I'll call this muscular anal state. See what he's writing about it. This is what Erikson has written. The whole stage then becomes a battle for autonomy, right? Because the infant must come to feel that his basic trust in himself and in the world, that is the lasting treasure saved from the conflicts of the oral stage, will not be jeopardized by the sudden violent wish to have a choice. What does this mean? It means that the child now is learning that they have control over their bladder, they have control over their feces, right? And they have learned from the previous stage to trust the parent, that you will let me choose. You will let me choose how to live my life. You will let me choose what to do with this. Because this is something that's difficult, something that's new, something that might feel good, something that might feel weird. I don't know. But you will not jeopardize it. But so if the parent does not jeopardize it, I'll do here so it's easy. If the parent does not jeopardize the choice, it leads to autonomy. Right? You are not restricting the let's say the act of, let's say, peeing or urinating or of defecating. You are not trying to control me when to do it. So if a parent shames them for it, like, why would you do this, why now over here, the child then feels shame and guilt. Not guilt really, shame and doubt. Shame because the parent is shaming them, and doubt because they don't doubt their own, their choice. So you can come back to what Erikson has written over here, that it becomes a battle for autonomy, that I am here, I can do this thing that is urinating or defecating. I'm learning what this is. And I need to know that you can trust me and to be able to make this choice. Something that we looked at before. So you can't reach this stage really, you can't really fulfill this stage without clearing the first one. Because you need that trust in your own choice and your parent that they should trust you. So we don't want that to be jeopardized by this sudden violent wish to have a choice. So this choice, this choosing, what does it do? It results in a virtue, which is willpower, or will, just will. Right? This is the virtue. That I had a choice. You can see what Erikson writes. Sorry, by mistake I put it twice. Unbroken determination to exercise free choice as well as self-restraint. That I get to choose. And from this, it either develops into autonomy or shame. And this, if this is autonomy is there, then the child gets a virtue of will. That I have a will in the world. Not only can my parents trust me, which is why I'm hopeful about the world, I also have a will in it. I have a say, I have control over it. If this is blocked, then they will always feel like I have no say in it. They'll always feel shameful and doubt every choice that they make. So if there's a child who's, there's a teenager or an adult who is, let's say, they went through shame and doubt. When they grow up, the choices that they make, they feel scared about it. What I told you about earlier, right? That whose voice is this? Who's criticizing? The shame and doubt, who brought it there? Who put it in your head? Did you put it there? Or did someone else put it there for you? If this doubt, shame is not there, if there's autonomy, the child realizes that the will is theirs. I get to choose. You can see here, I get to choose when to do something and when not to do something. If my parents tell me not to do something, then I can't choose anything. At that point, then the child learns that I have a say in things. And my life is not because, let's say I'm saying no, not because someone has told me I have to say no, but because I can say no. It's like when someone tells, like, you're planning, okay, you know what, I'll go and I'll do the dishes or I'll sweep the floor, and someone comes and tells you to do it, and like, no, now I'm not doing it. Because now it's not a free choice left anymore. So something like that. The child wants to choose when to do it and to show self-restraint. But if the parent is very restrictive about it, very or too lenient about it, the child will feel shameful and doubt themselves. So, which is why second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt, from which emerges from autonomy emerges will. So first they have hope about the future, that in the future my parents will trust me, right? Because of trust led to hope. Because of hope, we hope that you will trust me enough to choose things, which is why I developed a virtue of will, that in the future also I'll be able to choose things. You can see, right? Hope, will. Hope is like future, in the future something nice will happen. Will is in the future I'll be allowed to choose. The next stage is this locomotor genital. Before I go into how Erikson is talking about it, what is the genital stage in Freudian psychosexual theory? Anyone remembers? Phallic, Oedipus, last stage, full development. Oedipus. Mhm. So the key thing here is Oedipal wishes, right? Someone mentioned Oedipal wishes. Yeah, it will be problematic, which is why they need to be in a way satisfied. So you can see here, he's again, Erikson is writing over here. The boy's assurance that he will marry his mother and make her proud of him, and the girl's that she will marry her father and take much better care of him. Those are the Oedipal wishes. He's not straying away from Freud. He's still at this very point as well taking Freudian theory. He's saying in a child, this is developing, right? In the general stage, this Oedipal wish is developing. But because of it, because these Oedipal wishes are developing, something else is also happening. Something else is happening because of it. Because of that, the child starts to feel guilt that why am I feeling this way about my parent? Why am I thinking about this way about my parent? Especially since in comparison to their other parent, they are usually much smaller. They feel weak. They feel guilty that, oh my God, if I try to do this, something bad will happen to me. They feel guilt. It's like a moral guilt that I'm doing something wrong. Thinking about this. I'm doing something wrong, feeling this way. So the child does not want to feel this guilt. You can see here, the child then learns to divert the threatening sexual drive into acceptable outlets such as play. So look at what he's writing over here. Play to the child is what play is to the child what thinking, planning, and blueprinting are to the adult, a trial universe, wherein past failures can be thought through, expectations like tested. So what the child does over here is takes this guilt and diverts it into what? Any guesses? Play is the way they do it, but into what? Yes, into initiative. Because of these Oedipal wishes, they feel guilty. So they divert those feelings into initiativeness. So they end up going and playing. And this play or achievement or whatever it is, right? It's trying to satisfy the wishes of the parent, that the parent will now think that I'm doing something nice. That initial parent who they were trying in the Oedipal way, they're trying to now fulfill that in a different way. So it comes to now what? Initiative versus guilt. If this is not diverted, then the child feels guilt. That why am I feeling this way? But when they divert it, right? You can see here he's writing the child diverts that. It turns into initiative. And because the parent who they were initially, vying after is approving of it, that yeah, you know what, you're doing such a good thing, it's such a cool thing, you're doing this, you're such a cool kid. It turns into a purpose, which is the next value of virtue. It's something for the child to do, right? If someone tells you that, oh my God, you're playing so well, you're doing this so well, they do more of that. You tell a child that, if you've ever gone to meet a child, you tell them that, oh my God, you're playing football so well. They'll make you sit there and show you how they play football for like half an hour, because now it's turned into purpose of being initiated. It's not a conscious process. Yeah, 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 very good. It can be seen as a reaction formation. So to sum up, you can see that the child begins with trust versus mistrust. Why? Because food, man, I need to trust you will come back. You have to come back. And if they do, they feel that trust. It turns into what? What virtue does it turn? Hope about the future. That in the future, when something similar happens, you will come back. I hope in the future that this will happen. Because of which, they also then form hope and trust form over here together to come to the next stage, which is it's what? What does that do? Yes, autonomy versus no, not guilt, shame, not guilt, shame. And when that autonomy is properly given, you've given me my free choice, it turns into a new virtue of will. That you know what? I can now choose as a person, the willpower. Yes. Thank you for trusting me. And then with that will, what do? They have a choice either to fulfill those Oedipal wishes and keep feeling guilty about it, or to put it somewhere else. In a way, sublimation is a better way to think of it. Right? The child is taking their this Oedipal wishes and sublimating it. Right? So that then turns into your initiativeness versus guilt. Right? Because then they initiate that, they're taking that and they're also diverting it purposively. Right? It's my purpose. I get to choose this. Will is also coming here. Purpose. And again, uh, hope also comes here, because I hope in the future you will not take away my will and you will allow me to follow my purpose. And I get to do things. So that's the first three stages that I've covered for today. And this goes on. I'll also revise the next time I'm taking, but this goes on for every single stage. So now tell me, is Erikson still boring? You see how bad they've done my boy Erikson. They made us do it. ठीक है. Yeah. And that is how you should ideally see for all personality theories. They have something very interesting to say. They have something worth saying which that should be considered. And with this, I'd also like to cover the remaining for the next panel. Again, we don't have much time, plus I didn't get to prepare much. But then now you already remember the first three stages, right? You're not going to get confused now. Now you're not going to get confused as to which comes in initiative comes or industry comes first or identity comes first. You're not going to get confused. Why? Because they mean something in the original context. And each thing that you read today was Erikson's original words, what he wrote it as. Are there books which explain it this way? The UN textbook that I recommended, EWEN, this is, I mainly refer to that only because that explains it like this. And I loved it because it's the first time I was exposed to Erikson in a different way. I was dreading reading that chapter because I was so exhausted with like Erikson, Finney's Gauge, and all of that. You just tired after a while. Yeah, I have shared it on the classroom. UN. Yes. ठीक है. I hope you guys liked today's thing. ये क्लासरूम पे नहीं है, on the chat नहीं है, WhatsApp. I had half an hour to prepare Erikson. At 5:30 I started because I got the message pretty late that they were not well. Yes. UN is on the group. Someone just reshare. Yeah. Okay. How many want to stay back and do the demands paper? I can also put it on the group. Yes, and then you can stop streaming. Also, Sarah, you can stop recording.